Hello. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey,
Here
doing
we
good.
are. Yeah. What have you been doing recently, JT?
I was on a car ride for for like the last few hours, so I'm a little bit out of it, but let's try to get through this. Yeah.
All right. For those of you who don't know, I am seated opposite the co-founder of Woo, JT, otherwise known as Jack Tan. Myself, I am Ben York, and we are going to talk to you a little bit today about the state of the market, volatile times, and then maybe a few updates on the Woo side. This is something we vowed to do much more frequently to make sure that the community is getting news straight from the source and can see us out here working hard, making sure we're not slacking off no matter what the market conditions are. So yeah, why don't we get started? JT, maybe you could talk a little bit about the market yourself and how you've been doing on the trading side. Any big wins?
Just some big losses, to be honest. Um, I really underestimated kind of the part of the cycle that we were in. Um, and most of my time is spent on kind of building the team at Woo and building products at Woo. So I I guess it's also good, right? Because when I was actively trading a lot, you're kind of in the weeds too much, right? You're very much into the individual projects or the sectors, and then you kind of miss what's going on at a higher level. And these few months I've been really concentrating on just improving, Woo and the efficiency in the team. So, I'm almost like a outsider to the market now. But my view is more clear, I feel like, because, I entered the industry really full time, end of 2017, and been through so many cycles. But the underpinning cycle was this, pretty bullish sentiment, and a lot of talent kept on going into blockchain and crypto firms, no matter if it was bear or bull. And then those OGs, let's call them, right? The guys who entered like 2017 or earlier, um, a lot of them made decent amount of wealth, and then they've been through so many scams and disasters in this industry that most of them are just burned out, right? And they're like super skeptical now about anything new that's coming out. Um, Skeptical about mass adoption of crypto, skeptical about AI, like within crypto. So I feel like we're at this valley, right? Like if you see crypto and blockchain as a new technology, the people were so bowled up on this technology, expecting massive societal change within the first few years, and then that change came really slowly, and still is very low adoption rates. So people are at this disillusionment period now, right? That's what I think we're at. Um, but I feel like there's strong positive undercurrents. Um, One is the regulation in the US is softening, right? Regulators are dropping cases um, against some of the high profile projects, right? That they went after to try to make an example. And now they're dropping all of those cases. We don't know exact details, but I'm sure like these will be coming out soon. Um, and then we'll get more clarity on how they would regulate centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, how they will regulate token issuance, all of this stuff, right? Then we'll be more clear. But at least this is a really 180-degree turn from just, a few months ago, what was happening. Um, and just like in 2020, 2021, when the regulations were coming, and people weren't really reacting. I think now, like the regulations are decreasing and people aren't reacting, right? Like the market's not even rallying. I remember when Ripple would win some sort of a small thing in the court system, and then everything rallied like 10%.
Mhm.
Now we get less than. I mean, I don't think we got anything. Just like a little blip, right? So that's how
Mhm.
this market is now. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, the positive currents are very clear to me. I think aside from the regulatory easing, there's also the real adoption wave that should be forthcoming, right? Because with AI revolutionizing the user experience, the front end, crypto will be like a much easier to use thing, right? Blockchain will be a hindsight. Like you're not gonna have to think about which chain you're on, and um, your wallet address, like all this kind of stuff will be abstracted away. So then there will be real adoption, and we're really close to that within 2 years, I would
Mhm.
say, within maybe 1 year. But again, we're at this lowest point possible, I think. Like we're at the valley of underestimation, I think. Um, and so like if you're a longer term investor, this is probably the best time you're gonna see for a while. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, reminds me of the days when I got into crypto, and I was such a nerd at the beginning, thinking blockchain was going to change our lives. But here we are really struggling to come up with positive narratives, and then you have to step back, sort of like you mentioned, right? Be outside it and see these positive undercurrents, from which you can take a lot of hope from that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not easy, right? Because on the surface, there's a lot of different shit going on, like the
Hmm.
Trump tariffs, the increasing inflation, or rather the stubborn inflation that refuses to go back to 2%. But how could it when there's tariff wars everywhere, right? And the economy fundamentally is still quite strong in the U.S. So there's not this like drop in wage pressure. Um, yeah, so like inflation's still quite an issue. The Fed can't ease as much as they want to, and now you have tariffs adding uncertainty in this situation. And so I think crypto for sure suffers, right? It's like a tell-in risk asset, but you see like Bitcoin standing out, and as it should, right?
Hmm.
It's not like the other altcoins, right? It's very different from Ethereum, from Solana, from all the altcoins and shitcoins and meme coins and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we see differentiation, and that'll continue.
Hmm. All right, for the traders watching the stream, I know there's probably quite a few of them. There's somebody who made a joke. They thought JT was actually Jim Talbot. We actually we actually have two of the more famous JTs in crypto. But yeah, this time it's Jack. Maybe I'm curious about the CPI was this week, the FOMC is next week. Are there any sort of things you're looking at on a macro side that could be a big catalyst?
Well, sorry if we disappoint you guys. Wrong show. What does Jim usually talk about on these things?
He charts a lot, talks about different levels, different scenarios he's looking for, and then he gets comments about different tickers to look at, and then insults you for your bad trading habits, which is actually quite beneficial.
Okay. Well, we have no charts, no technical
Mhm.
analysis, nothing like that. Just talking about things more on high level, and how like a discretionary longer term trader would see things. Yeah. You asked about the CPI. I mean, the CPI came in better. Job growth was weaker. So I I think the consensus is that the Fed will lower like 2 times this year. The first one being June, which is actually different from like just a couple of months ago, right? Where people felt like they wouldn't ease even in June. And the first one would be like later this year, like December or something like that. Um, so yeah, that's a welcome change. But then that change came because the 2 year treasury rates are falling, the 10-year is falling. Why? Because people are panicking, right? Because of the tariffs and maybe some disillusionment over AI adoption as well, right? Like, can NVIDIA continue their revenue growth? Can Meta, can, like, all this huge spending into AI infrastructure, is that really going to pay off in the time frame and the um, and the amount that people were expecting, right? So then you see these big drops in the tech sector as well. Tesla was like 480 or something, and now it's like 200 something, mid 200 something, I think. So yeah, like, there's been quite a bit of wealth erased, quite a bit of hope erased in tech, as well as in crypto, right? Crypto, I feel like, is just like a tech on steroids kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You mentioned disillusionment with AI. How are you feeling about that yourself personally?
Mm, I think these new technologies, they always follow that curve, right? At first you overestimate, then there's a period of reckoning where the change doesn't come as fast as people think. And that's where actually all the buying opportunity is, right? You got to slow down, and you got to think, this is the first time that we have intelligence as a product, and it'll just keep getting better and better and better, right? How can
Mhm.
you, I mean, as an investment, how can you not be bullish on that? So you almost have to be.
Mhm.
You have to invest in that. It's just a matter of how and when, like, what do you buy, right? How do you position? How much do you risk? Um, yeah, and how do you, like, diversify a little bit, right? Like, um, to make sure that you cover different scenarios and different paths, because you can be right, um, and the path can destroy your portfolio in the meantime.
I know that feeling. Okay, why don't we push it into some Woo related topics? I see there's a lot of comments people um, pushing in there, and feel free if you have anything you want to hit JT with, drop it in there. Uh, last week we had a spaces with Caladan and Headshark that institutional copy trading, right? The idea that you could have a decent performance in all market conditions, whether long or short. Uh, is that a direction you see us pushing users towards, right? Because obviously it's like a very stark contrast to the average degen on crypto Twitter who just wants to long with the highest leverage possible. How are you thinking about that?
Is quant trading applicable to all investors, to all traders? I think to some extent, for sure, like the risk management, position sizing, like these things can be, um, you can have these quantifiable rules, right? If my portfolio is down 10% or 20%, um, close out, let's say 70% of my positions in altcoins, right? And just leave my spot, right? Right now, I'm not aware of any platform that allows you to do that. So that's these kind of complex conditional orders is something that we're working on, and we want people to be able to do that without having to, manually click a bunch of buttons and set a bunch of parameters, like your whole
Mhm.
page is parameters, right? I've seen these sniper bots where you just have to put in like 50 different inputs for it to do what you want. And that's the total opposite direction of where Woo is going, right? Woo is kind of just wanting to take your text, like natural language, and then be able to help you execute that without you having to monitor everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that part is coming, and so more and more, I feel like people will be able to use their natural language um, to implement some of these more quantitative strategies, right? What I mentioned is super simple, but you can also mention other things like, you know, funding rate opportunities, right? You can instruct the strategy to kind of short here, buy there, if certain conditions are met. And if it doesn't go the right way, you can just take off the trade, right? To program something like this will take a while, right? But in the future, like within this year, it should be doable within natural language, with natural language.
Awesome. Do you work with the product team directly on ideas like this? I'm just curious. I actually
Yes.
don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like whenever I want to do something and I find it difficult to do it on Wix or other platforms, you know, that's the basis of the idea. And then I basically tell the product team like this would be great if we could do that, right? But then there's a bunch of those ideas. Then we kind of think, what are the core capabilities that'll allow most of these ideas to come to fruition, right? In the most efficient path of the development team, right? Is it with AI? Do we just utilize the current dev team to do this? These are all questions like, how do you divide the resources in order to hit the right product, right, in the next few months? Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you watching and thinking, how does Ben not know this? I mean, to be honest, I think even by cutting back, I think we're still around 190 headcounts, and you know, I'm focused a lot more on the DeFi side and the marketing side. So a lot of these like real trading feature related conversations, I'm actually not privy to. So yeah, that was actually a genuine question out of curiosity for you there, JT.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess the follow up to that was, you know, I was going to ask you if Woo is building anything to help traders in conditions like these. I guess you talked about it right there with that.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah, like it's not just about the product. I feel like we can do a lot more in a lot of ways, from customer service being more responsive, to, you know, faster withdrawals, to research, right? Like when everything's going to hell, people will be wondering like, okay, well, which projects have the runway and the financial resources, and the team spirit, right? The team culture to fight through these cycles, these like very vicious bear cycles, and come out on the other side with winning products that gain more users and capture mind share, right? So I think the research team can help put out lists like that. People would also wonder, like, okay, in a bear market, what falls the most, right? What's going to go from like top 200 to 5,000 on CoinMarketCap, right? And then people will wonder, like, okay, once the market kind of finds its footing, even for short-term relief rallies, what's going to rally, you know, 50, 60, 70% if Bitcoin and Ethereum goes up like 10%, right? So I feel like we should use these opportunities, right? See them as opportunities to guide people, to help people, even if they don't agree with the list that the research team puts out. This is how they should be thinking, right? They can make their own list with Grok 3, with DeepSeek, with OpenAI, whatever, right? Like with their friends, and be prepared, right? The most important thing with being a successful trader is to really be prepared for all kinds of scenarios, and you know how you're going to react in those scenarios. If you have to react in real time, most of us would do very damaging things to our own portfolios. That's me included. Yeah. So I've learned this lesson, I don't know how many times in my and I continue to make those mistakes, but at least very quickly I realized, oh, I'm not prepared for this market. I need to step back. I need to kind of go back to the drawing board. try to understand what's happening, and then like make a plan, right? And if you don't know what's happening, if you have no view on the market, then you have no plan. Just don't trade, right?
Yeah. Probably my last question, in case the community has more things here in the comments, but there's a chart about the amount of Woo that's being bought back, and the buybacks are directly tied to the products, right? The amount of swap volume that gets generated through WooFi Swap, the amount of volume on WooX and also on WooFi Pro, right? So I mean, this is obviously heading in a very interesting direction if we can continue to grow the platform, focus on growth, focus on generating revenue, different flows. So I mean, is there anything there? It could also be related to updates that you'd like to share, things that you're currently working on that really emphasize this direction and this commitment.
Well, my thing is just make sure that we're able to provide a lot of value to the users, to the current users, to future potential users. That's what I'm focused on. I know your team is much more kind of into the token, right? And how that flows through the ecosystem, how that supports the ecosystem. But for sure, like the more profitable we are, the more resources we can dedicate to marketing, to branding, to growth, to new products, to new narratives. So that's my focus. And we don't want to just keep raising venture capital funds because that's just additional sell pressure later. And we want to kind of grow more organically whenever possible. Yeah, maybe you can talk about what the ecosystem team is thinking in terms of the token.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of low-hanging fruit out there with the amount of new ecosystems, and getting WooFi Swap under there is a fantastic source because that's just constantly there burning. Definitely supporting the affiliates on the WooX side so that WooX volumes are increasing. I just see so much upside on the WooX volume side because when you look at our volumes relative to someone like, say, a Kraken, right? There's just a lot of things we need to execute on this year. So I think, yeah, for me, definitely that's one of the most important initiatives in telling our brand story better, getting it out there, which is one of the reasons we're trying to have stronger ties to the community. You're probably going to notice some changes to our social media in the upcoming days. We're taking a strong look at our social media content strategy and things that we're doing that don't make a lot of sense. I was actually talking to you, JT, earlier about how you sort of fall into these habits, especially when the markets are trending up, right? Like that's what we had last year. It's sort of builder mode on easy mode because you do one little thing and then Bitcoin pumps to 100K and all the market follows it. And there's a strong like positive feedback loop. But then when you step back and observe, maybe a lot of the things you did weren't making a lot of sense. So yeah, obviously the humbling effect of the market makes you reevaluate that. But yeah, I just want to give anyone listening that we're very committed to this, optimizing all our growth marketing strategies to get us back on track. And you guys will start seeing that very soon. Hope you guys can support that as best as possible. The easiest way to do that is obviously by joining the Woo Force. We do weekly calls on Wednesdays, and that's your chance to really grill us, throw constructive criticism at us, and give us new ideas from which we can grow from. So yeah, I just saw one of the comments from Necro, one of our dedicated members. He's 30,000 feet up in the air and he's listening to the stream. So
nice.
Appreciate the dedication. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're at 25 minutes. I don't know if there's anything additional that you want to say just to round it off. Like as promised, we will be doing these a lot. We want to get JT in front of you as often as possible. He's a wealth of information on both the trading side and the product building side. So we're here, we're committed, and we're willing to answer any sort of questions you might have. Always throw them at us and push us for more. JT, I'll drop it to you to kind of round us off here.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good to be able to interact with people like this, and I'm happy to do more of it. And if you guys want to see longer form content, or if you want us to interview some people on a podcast style thing, like happy to do that as well. Just let us know. Yeah, and I think at the darkest times is time to really plan for the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because it's going to be fast. Every time it flips, the market flips, it's like super fast, right? And then like people are like caught off guard and they don't know what to do, and then they end up FOMOing at the worst possible points. So like that's my advice, right? And we'll be doing the same. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Let us end the stream here, and I'll see you guys again next week. Probably see you Friday actually for a trading mentoring session with Skew right here on Twitter. So yeah, see you guys soon. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.